They say history is written by the victors, but what if the truth was buried with the fallen? Every secret leaves a trace, if you know where to look. This is The Broken Truth, decoding history, one broadcast at a time. The Broken Truth Podcast, where history meets conspiracy. Every case tells a story, every story hides a lie. Welcome back to the Broken Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett. Today, we're going to be doing a tour of Zorro Ranch. Let's give some brief details of the property, some of the details including when it was built, who built it, why it was built, and some of the history behind the property. I did a complete detailed episode on the ranch itself and how it was not covered in anything in terms of criminal cases according to the Epstein files. I'll link that video in the description. It's gotten tremendous feedback, and one of the topics of feedback was a tour. So here we are. So let's get into some of these details. Zorro Ranch, officially known today as Rancho de San Rafael, is a large private estate in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, most widely associated with financier Jeffrey Epstein. So who built it and when? The ranch property itself existed long before modern ownership and was part of an older land grants and agricultural uses. But the current main estate buildings, including the large mansion, were built under Jeffrey Epstein's ownership in the 1990s. Epstein purchased the property in 1993 from former New Mexico Governor Bruce King. The main residence, a sprawling hacienda-style mansion on the ranch, was built in 1999. The original land use was a historic ranch and agricultural land from Spanish colonial era onward. Once again, this was purchased by Jeffrey Epstein in 1993. The major buildings constructed, including the primary mansion, built in 1999. So this was sold by Epstein's estate in 2023 to a new owner who renamed it Rancho de San Rafael. So the main residence, or the mansion that we know, is a sprawling multi-story hacienda-style house built around the late 1990s with several bedrooms and large living spaces, reportedly over 30,000 square feet. It has caretakers' houses, staff residence, a separate residence for on-site staff or caretakers, and multiple other residences, including several homes near the main entrance of Ranch Central, is what they call it, typically housing ranch personnel or guests. Guest lodges and cabins, smaller standalone units such as the lodge and a log cabin for private or guest use. Then we have the grass airstrip and hangar, a private runway for small aircraft and associated hangar space. A helipad, a landing area for helicopters, sometimes landscaped as a garden feature. Some support and recreational facilities. There's a firehouse, stables and equestrian facilities, a greenhouse, a yurt, tennis and basketball courts. There's an office for ranch operations, patios, terrace, outdoor living spaces, and industrial buildings. Some additional assets on the land include antique railroad car and tracks, remnants of an old rail line crossing the terrain, extensive grounds and desert terrain, over 7,500 acres of high desert land. There's no widely published or verified information available in public records or news sources about who the architect was for the main mansion at Zorro Ranch. Public sources describe the mansion's size, style, and when it was built, but they do not name the architect or design firm responsible for its design. So let's get into touring this ranch. So the official address for this ranch is 49 Zorro Ranch Road, Stanley, New Mexico, 87056. According to Realtor.com, its estimated value is $230,500, which is absolutely heinous. That's not real. Let's look at all the information that we have here. So tax history, almost non-existent on the property. In 2021, the property was initially listed for $27.5 million. It was then reduced in July of 2022 by $6 million to a total of $21.5 million. In October of 2022, it was decreased again by $3.5 million to a total of $18 million. When the ranch was sold in 2023, it was sold for a non-disclosed price. Not quite sure why, but that's what we know. This is a 33,339 square foot. I assume they're referring to the home. The lot size is 330.5 million square feet. All right, let's slap this into Google Earth and see what we can find here. Alrighty, so starting at the main road, this is going to be the entrance. to the property. This is going to be the gate, the guard area. And then once we come down this private road, we hit the main office area. We have the garages, well, some of the garages and the stables. We have the office buildings. We have some of the guest houses right here. Or staff quarters, as they would call it. There's 3 roads that split off. One that goes up here, one that goes down the center, and one that goes down the side. We'll start going down the left side first. This appears to be some sort of communication tower. We'll follow this road all the way down and see what we can find. This is probably a fire road that branches off into a different property. All right, here's one of the guest houses. So tennis court, like it was talking about. Not sure the size of this guest home, but there's one of them. Branch up here. I can't even tell what that is, but there's reports on this property that some sort of potential fracking or mining could have potentially been conducted while Epstein owned this property. So this could be something relating to that. There's a lot of strange formations that look like quarries as I was exploring this prior to recording. I assume this is some sort of maintenance building up here. I have absolutely no clue what this is. I couldn't find any detailed listings of where stuff is at on the property, but I do have some more files that we'll be digging through once we get done with this Google Earth tour. I'm also not sure the property boundaries. Some of the photos I have do kind of show it a little bit, but we'll get into that in a little bit. All right, let's follow this road around. Looks like that's some sort of maybe water, some sort of retention basin of some sort. Let's follow this road up. All right, so this goes up to the top of the mountain. Looks like we have another guest property up here, or a cabin, as this one's probably referred to as. We got another one back here. This is probably the log cabin that the documents refer to. I want to preface this by saying there's no officially publicly released documents that are related to the Epstein case on this property whatsoever. There's nothing tying him or any official public figures to this property in any way, shape, or form. So all we're going off of is the public documents that we have access to according to this ranch. Looks like some sort of tower here and another basin of some sort. All right, we'll follow this back down a little bit. We have the helipad. I assume this is the hangar, and then this is the runway, the private runway. And I assume this is another helipad right here. So this brings us back down to the main area, the main entrance. So if we follow this road up here from the right-hand side, we have what appears to be more stables of some sort. We'll follow this road all the way up. This branches off into like a fire road of some sort. I don't believe there was anything back here. Then we have the main highway over here on the right-hand side. This almost appears to be some sort of communication tower of some sort. Here's some quarry-looking objects. Another water container, I guess. There's a bunch of those on the property. Back here's another quarry-looking object. Same back here. Again, I'm not sure how far back this property boundary goes, so I don't really want to explore too far back here because it might not actually be part of the ranch anymore. So we'll go back over here and explore the main property. So again, this is the road we followed up from the main building. We already explored left. We explored the hangar up the center, and up the right-hand side, we have the actual Zorro Ranch property itself. So zooming in over here, this is the mansion. We have multiple guest houses on here. We have the garages over here. Then the property itself, which we'll get into all of the photos here shortly. So if once you follow the airstrip, I assume they would have taken a vehicle either up this road here or this road here. And it appears that it goes this way, and then this is the main entrance to the ranch itself. We have a little stable where I assume they store horses here. Then the road follows up to the ranch itself. So that's the Google Earth tour. Let's go back to the photos of the house itself. So this is Zorro Ranch. We have the main entrance with the front door. These are the photos according to Realtor.com and the listing of the property itself. So this is the back side of the front door. We have the main entrance area. This appears to be some sort of ballroom, a sitting area. This is the main kitchen. This is an office space. Here's one of the patios. The back side of the ranch. It appears to be almost 3 stories. Not sure if there's any basement or underground facilities here. A garden area, almost appears to be a crop circle. There's not too many images in regard to the bedrooms or the guest houses or the interior of the guest houses, but here's some views from the property. Here's one of the guest houses on the main property itself. There are no interior photos of it, only exterior. Backside of the house at night, some interior quarters, courtyard area. Once again, the backside of the property, or the side of the property actually. This is the main entrance. This appears to be another guest house or some sort of entertainment house. Here's another one of the guest houses on the property. Again, no interior photos of it. This is an aerial view of the main entrance that we just explored on Google Earth, where we have the stables and all the offices and the maintenance garage areas. I believe the firehouse is in here, but I'm not sure which building it is. But there is said to be a firehouse on the property. Here's one of the tennis courts. This is inside one of the stables. Here's the cabin. I believe this is the one we zoomed into at the top of the mountain. Unfortunately, the imagery was not that clear, but I do have an aerial flyover drone video that I will be sharing. Here's the firehouse. This almost looks like the stable, so I'm wondering if they just used part of the stable as the firehouse. I don't know. Here's the greenhouse they referred to. I assume this is office space. This is labeled as a general store, so I'm curious if this is some sort of historical property that was from the colonial era, as it referred to. This is what I assume we saw, a lot of water retention basins. All of the circular stuff that I zoomed in on throughout the course of the Google Earth tour. This is the runway, the helipad, and then there's another one on the other side. This is the hangar. Another view of the mansion. Massive property. All right, so let's get into the aerial tour. So this is a video that I found on YouTube. Some guy, I guess he just took his drone and flew it over the property, so I'll let you guys watch it and I'll kind of narrate it as it goes. It's not too long, only 1 minute and 20 seconds. This actually might be a helicopter tour, I'm not too sure, but it looks like a drone. Terrible video quality, I apologize. All right, so they're approaching the backside of the house right here. Once again, appears to be 3 stories. This does appear to be a basement on the bottom floor. But again, I'm not sure if there's other underground facilities at all. There's no confirmation of any of that. Guest house over here, main property, garages. Interior courtyard that we saw from the real estate photos. And that's that. All right. So I do have some layout images. This is some property information from the ranch itself. I wasn't able to find too much details on it, but I'll just share all these images with you. This appears to be some sort of water area, some satellite imagery. This is where we get into like the mining. This is very similar in mining facilities. They'll have this sort of tarp and water is stored in here. Aerial view of the main entrance of the ranch. Some dimensions of the stable. And then one of the houses. "31 feet across on this. I believe that's the water retention area. I'm not sure even what this is referring to, but this is part of the publicly accessed property information for the ranch itself. It did show some sort of information, but it didn't list the actual property boundaries itself. So supposedly in this image, there's 2 planes up here that it's listed to say 2.85 miles from the hangar and airstrip. I have no information on this. Again, I'm just sharing with you everything that I've found publicly available on this ranch. This is the cabin that we saw in the listing photos. These are some more properties or buildings of some sort that are part of the ranch. It does appear that this is property boundary. It looks like this is toward the top near the mountain, so the north-facing side. Communications. All right, so here's a good breakdown of what's going on here. So here is the main entrance of the ranch itself. We have the stables and the buildings, possible fracking going on over here. We have broadcast system over here, communications. There's a guest house here, more possible fracking. They have the mansion, the main mansion right up here, the hangar and airstrip, more guest houses up here, and then supposedly 2 planes up here. We'll have to go back to Google Earth and dig into that because I did not see that, but it does appear that this is over the ridge of the mountain. I have no clue what this is. Again, there's unfortunately no description for any of these photos. I was just able to find them and download them. This appears to be the main mansion and some of the descriptions for it. This is one of the county assessor's documents for the land. So the full land value, $114,000. This is January 1st of 2013. The taxable value of the property is $6.1 million. The total full value of the property, $18.3 million. This was in 2012, 2013, it remained the same. These are some interior photos of the property that were not on the listing, but I was able to find them. These are all the same listing photos. Let me see if there was anything else. These are all listing photos I already showed you. All right, now let's go through some of these documents. I have a bunch of documents that are all publicly released documents that I will add to the link in the description for the show notes version of this episode. You guys can download them and read them for yourself. But we'll do a brief description. So this is documents to the Attorney General. This is some district court filings. Some more district court filings from New York in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. These are some redacted filings. These are some electronic files according to the Commissioner of Public Lands, the New Mexico State Land Office building. Again, I will link to all of these in the description of this video, and you guys can download them for yourself. But that's the tour. Let's go back to Google Earth and see if we can find those plains over the ridge. So this is the 2 houses. It was north of that. I have no clue what they were referring to up here. I don't see anything. And this is, I assume, a different property. Yeah, that's a different property over the ridge line. All right, well, that does it for this episode. This is part 2 again of the Zorro Ranch home tour for all of the publicly available information that we have on this ranch. If you guys like this episode, leave a comment below, drop your thoughts. If you have any other information that you'd like to share on this video or this case in general, please let me know. I will be releasing updated information as it becomes publicly available, but as of now, this is all we have. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay awake, and stay questioning the narrative.
In a world built on hidden histories and half-truths, we've only just begun to peel back the layers. Because what you've heard tonight was never meant to be known, but you were meant to find it. If you're ready to go deeper, leave us a review, comment your thoughts, share this episode, and step inside the archives. Join the inner circle, where the real evidence is kept. This is the broken truth, because the truth isn't whole, it's broken.